to make sure that we are working as closely as possible with our Israeli allies because we have so many interests in common.
Recent and ongoing regional aggression by Iran in the Middle East continue to keep concerns raised regarding Israel. What are your thoughts on supporting continued U.S. funding for those programs, such as our missile defense program, Iron Dome, David Sling, and Arrow? And what steps should the department be taking to address Iran's regional aggression? And what policy developments would you suggest in response to recent rocket attacks on U.S. and coalition forces in Iraq?
Thank you, Senator. I'm clear-eyed about the threat that Iran poses, not just to our forces in the region, but to our allies and partners in the region, Israel first and foremost. Israel obviously faces direct threats to its territory from Iranian-backed groups like Hezbollah in Lebanon, and from the infrastructure that Iran has been building in Syria. I think both the United States and Israel have the right to defend themselves. I'm supportive of the strikes that Israel has taken to defend itself in places like Syria. I also support our efforts to defend our forces when they are attacked or threatened by Iranian proxies. I also think that the U.S.-Israeli defense relationship has so many benefits because Israel remains at the cutting edge in developing things like Iron Dome and David Sling and the Arrow system in missile defense, and that there's a two-way street, that our defense and technological cooperation with Israel not only benefits Israel's security, but benefits our security. So if confirmed, I would look forward to continue advancing that relationship.
With regard to cybersecurity issues, I'm sure you're aware of the SolarWinds intrusion, and that infiltration affected many parts of the United States government, including the Pentagon, without anyone's knowledge for months, putting the military, the government, and private companies at incalculable risks. What policy advice will you be putting forward within the DoD to help stop future intrusions? What DoD cyber policies towards Russia will you put forward? And it's our understanding that China piggybacked on the SolarWinds intrusion to infiltrate the same systems and steal information. What DoD policies will you put forward towards Russia and China to prevent such and avert such cyber intrusions in the future?
Yes, Senator, of course, I'm not privy to the classified information on SolarWinds. I have been, I'm aware of the open source information on it. My understanding is that DoD unclassified systems, some of them were exposed, but none were compromised. But obviously the extent of the SolarWinds intrusion is deeply troubling. And I think it is a reminder of just how large the attack surface for cyber attacks is. I fear that attack surface has grown substantially over the last year as so many of our activities have moved online as a consequence of the pandemic. So this is an issue of foremost importance, not just for the department, but across the U.S. government. I tend to align myself with the views of the Cyber Solarium Commission report, and I know a number of members on this committee have been quite involved in that, in the sense that there is no silver bullet on the cyber threat. We need a mix of deterrence by punishment, that is the ability to retaliate in cyberspace and other domains against those who attack us. We have to be able to defend our networks. Almost as important, we have to be able to quickly rebuild our networks so that resilience itself is a deterrent against actors who think they can gain by taking those networks down. And we have to work with allies in like-minded states on norms and rules of the road around cyberspace so that malign actors pay real costs internationally, multilaterally, when they engage in harmful activities. So if confirmed, I would look forward to advancing DoD efforts in all these areas and working with the interagency on a whole-of-government approach.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And just for the record, I'm going to submit a question, since my time has expired, about the cyber workforce and what role you can play to ensuring that we recruit the highest standard of cyber personnel for DoD. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Gillibrand. Let me recognize Senator Fisher.